WNST. Charles Newsonoff and Sons since 1923. True love comes in all shapes and sizes. There's something for everybody's budget at Charles Newsonoff and Sons. They also buy gold over there. Make sure you find them at charlesnewsonoff.com, as well as at the Perring Parkway exit just outside of 695, where they say, let's grow old together. I'm hoping not to age here on Sunday as the Denver Broncos come to town. The Ravens taking on the chin last Thursday night. 10 days of sitting around, including our Tuesday night chat with Alex Lewis, as well as our swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry up at Michael's Cafe. But we're ready for football on Sunday. The Broncos come in undefeated under Case Keenum. I had a chance to sit around and red zone it a little bit on Sunday. Renaud Notaro was there. He's been there for 22 years, covering all things Broncos at Mile High Sports. You can find him out on Twitter, as well as a lovely boat vista at Ren Know It All on Twitter. Ren, welcome back on, and a pleasure to have you, and certainly 2-0 with the Broncos in Case Keenum in the offseason. We have been in the market chasing quarterbacks in the offseason. Feels like John Elway's been at that since Peyton Manning left. In Case Keenum, it sounds like at least a good temporary solution to try to win 10 or 11 games, and they're off to a great start.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the first half was probably some of the worst football I've ever seen played in my life. But if not for a 52-yard run by Philip Lindsay, they would have only had one first down in the first half. So other than that, it was, the second half was really good. The game-winning drive, that was great. But the first half was just really, really bad offensive football. And luckily the Raiders made some mistakes, didn't make plays, and that really opened the door for the Broncos.
Well, I could see where if the Ravens win this week, those of you who cover the team would say, well, they haven't been completely impressive. They're trying to get it together, as are many teams. I mean, other than the Rams and Ryan Fitzmagic, everybody else has got some work to do here. Drops were a big part of the game on Sunday, and I watched most of the game. Demaryius Thomas, you're not used to seeing that.
Actually, you are. That's kind of his signature. He drops a lot of balls. He, I think, dropped 3 in the first game, dropped 3 in the second game, and over his career, he really, he's a great receiver, produces a lot of yards, a lot of catches, but over his career, if you go back and look at it, he's dropped a lot of balls. Now, the Broncos probably, are like baseball mom keeping score for their son pitching, but, he does drop a lot of footballs, too many for me. But, look, that's just kind of how he is. But
nothing stalls an offense like that, right? I mean, and I think
look what happened to the Raiders. If the Raiders make the catch, they probably win the game. And the Broncos make the catch, and then it was the young guy that comes through for the Broncos. So that's where other guys were coming through in the clutch, and that's what they needed. And Case Keenum just needs to make good decisions because he has a lot of talent, a lot of weapons with Sanders and with Thomas.
Elway going out in the offseason looking for a quarterback, and I know in that franchise he was the guy for so long. Then there was that period where, we had the Brian Griese's coming in here at the turn of the century. And then the Peyton Manning thing happened. You win a championship. But finding these quarterbacks and lining up to draft, and I know the Giants are now, the fans are down on Saquon Barkley because they didn't take a quarterback. When you get that opportunity, where are you with Case Keenum in this signing in this offseason where there were Alex Smiths out there, there were, Kirk Cousins out there, and obviously a different level of commitment. Elway went all in on Osweiler, and that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, he has not done well drafting quarterbacks. He's not good at drafting quarterbacks. I'm not a fan of Keenum. I hope he does well. I mean, but I'm not a Broncos fan, so it's where I look at it with blinders on, and I just think he's a career backup. He had an outlier season last year. In 2 games, he's thrown more interceptions than touchdown passes. It's early this year. I get that.
And they've won them both, right? I mean, that's unusual when you have a quarterback that's upside down in that statistical category to still be undefeated. That's good fortune, I would say.
Well, it really is, because if you look at the 2 games, they've been very fortunate. they've also played bad teams. This isn't Seattle that blew the Broncos out in the Super Bowl. This is a Seattle team that finally had to pay their quarterback and now can't pay anyone else, kind of like with Baltimore. You paid Flacco, and now it's, all right, now how are we going to piecemeal everything together?
Well, we've let three $10 million linemen go every year, right? Right tackle, guard, and a center in the last 4 years, they've all gone because you can't afford those guys and a $25 million quarterback.
Exactly. So, Seattle nearly beat the Broncos. You go back to Royce Freeman fumbling the football, but Pete Carroll couldn't get the flag out of his pants quickly enough. If he gets the flag out, it's clearly overturned. And then they got fortunate with the Demaryius Thomas touchdown in Game 1. Now, I'm not taking away from anything, but I think those are things you have to look into. They were fortunate and unfortunate in calls this past weekend. But, they have won games against bad teams, and that's something you have to do if you want to be a decent football team. I think Baltimore is going to be a difficult game for the Broncos. It's going to be on the road. It's 2 time zones. That's always difficult. And I think this defense is now still trying to find a third cornerback. They brought Pac-Man Jones in, but he's 35 years old, and that's one of their Achilles heels. They also don't cover tight ends well, so that could open things up for Flacco as far as the middle and small and shorter routes.
Which we like around here, by the way. Ren Know-It-All is the way to find Renaud Notaro. He's out in Denver, Colorado, Mile High Sports. You can find him at milehighsports.com, as well as a host at AM 1340, as well as FM 104.7. All of our WNST programming brought to you by our friends at King Discount Liquors. Lottery, beer, booze, and the best prices in Baltimore. Get on out to Rosedale and give the King a ring. Check out our new commercial with Johnny Bev and the King All-Stars as well. Tuesday night at Michael's Cafe with Alex Lewis from the Baltimore Ravens, swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry. All of our swabbings for There Goes My Hero and the Bone Marrow Registry, brought to you by Freedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. You need the right lender. You need Freedmont's education online, whether you're buying, selling, or thinking about it. Go to Freedmont. Get their Freedmont U at Freedmont.com. Renaud, for you with the Broncos and where they are as far as a championship caliber team in that division, watching Oakland sort of go away, watching San Diego sort of struggling where they are with their fan base and where they are. I gotta tell you, the surprise of all has to be Pat Mahomes in all of this. You mentioned Elway not being able to draft a quarterback. That kid now, at least for a week, looks like the real deal, right? And that's going to have to be contended with out there.
Yeah, he's been very impressive. I am not a big fan of the read option, the RPO quarterbacks. I think that'll run its course in a few years. You just can't do that. You can't run your quarterback in the NFL. They'll get killed. That's why no one, copied Nebraska and Oklahoma in the 70s and 80s.
Hey, bro, I've watched Lamar Jackson run around in these preseason games, and I'm like, not for me. I mean, literally, there's no way that's going to stand and be a long-term solution over 16 games in this league. No way.
It can't be. It can't be. And you're seeing linebackers lining up a yard to a yard and a half deeper to offset the RPO. Defenses are going to scheme against it. Once in a while, a quarterback's going to keep it. You saw it last night with Dax Prescott. You saw it with Case Keenum on Sunday. But they can't run consistently. If they do, I know Cam Newton ran 13 times the other day, and to me, that's complete insanity. And he's a big guy, so he can handle some hits, but he's gotten hurt. And even someone as big as Cam Newton's eventually going to get hurt. And I think they're just going to run him until he can't. But I like what Mahomes has done. I didn't think he was going to be able to have that kind of success. I think good defenses will scheme against him. I think, but he made throws. So I really commend how well he's played. And it is early. He will hit some bumpy roads, but he's been very impressive. I still think Phillip Rivers is the best quarterback in that division. The Broncos, I'm still not convinced they're going to go to the playoffs. I think when they play better teams, because look, Oakland played the game of their season. That they looked so good. They schemed the Broncos perfectly, and they won't play a better game than what they played on Sunday. And but I think Kansas City is probably the I actually thought the Chargers were before the season started, but with their injuries defensively, now Bosa's going to be out into October. I think that's really dealt them a bad hand. But, you know, it's the NFL, so you play on. But I still think San Diego will probably come out on top because they have Phillip Rivers, but it'll be between San Diego and Kansas City for sure.
Certainly feels like there's no super team in the AFC, and I know everybody thinks the NFC's all loaded up, and as we go through this, we saw the Bengals the other night. The Steelers look like they've taken a step back. The Patriots got snotted on by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's always hard to buy into Blake Bortles. You know, I think Andrew Luck coming on with Indianapolis makes them much more credible, but there's no great team in the AFC. I mean, they all look, on the best day, I'd say one of these teams might get to 11, right?
Yeah, although I think Jacksonville with that defense is really impressive. They have a dominant, swarming, turnover defense. And, I mean, everybody wants to count Bortles out, but then he throws four touchdowns. And, you know, if he stays within himself, they have to run the ball first. He's not going to be a quarterback that's going to throw it 40 or 50 times and then win. So if they can dictate the tempo, almost like a good point guard in basketball, you dictate the tempo, you run the football, control the line of scrimmage, then I think Jacksonville could make some noise. They certainly handed it to the Patriots yesterday.
Renaud Notaro covers all things Broncos at Mile High Sports out in Denver, Colorado. You can certainly give him a follow at Mile High Sports as well as at Ren Know It All. And I guess for the Broncos here and getting help along the way here defensively on the backside, you mentioned going out and getting Pac-Man Jones. I also noticed they have Pekka from the Cincinnati Bengals as well. They spent a lot of money on Von Miller there. The defense has sort of been the star of the show, even going back to when Manning won the Super Bowl with them. Defensively, you know, backwards, forwards, where do you see that going? And the young guys stepping in on the backside of the secondary, what do they have there to run around with some of these tight ends?
Well, I mean, you have Chris Harris Jr. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, cornerback in the NFL. And then you have Von Miller, you have Shane Ray, you have, you know, a lot of talent on the defensive line. Pecco played a hell of a game. I don't think people know enough about Derek Wolfe, who's a defensive end in that 3-4. He's very talented. But, you know, as long as you have Von Miller, you have Shaquille Barrett, they have the pass rushers. It's just their middle linebackers. That's a definite Achilles heel with Todd Davis and Brandon Marshall at middle linebacker. They're undersized, and that's definitely a weakness for the defense.
Well, certainly Chubb was a nice draft pick, and I saw him running around a little bit.
Yeah, Chubb was a very good draft pick. I mean, I always say you have to wait 2-3 years to see how they pan out, but it also helps him and loosens things up for him that he's playing opposite Von Miller.
Hey, man, always a pleasure to check in with you. I don't know if you're making the trip out here this week. If you are, bring me some empanadas, bring the mountains this way and all that good stuff. But it's been rare that we've had the Broncos coming here lately. Feels like we've made a few more trips out there, starting seasons and whatnot. It'll be nice to get them in here this week. Appreciate you, Ren. Thanks for coming on, man.
Anytime.
Renaud Notaro joining us here from Denver, Colorado, and you can find him out on the Mile High Sports Network at milehighsports.com, as well as on Twitter at Ren, that's R-E-N, Know It All. You can find me in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper ships digitally to your email inbox free of charge each and every morning at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and planetfitness.com, where it's still $10 a month. They're always judgment-free. Kids are back to school. Get on over to Planet Fitness. There's one in your neighborhood. Don't forget to support the John W. Brick Foundation events and 5K run. That's happening on my 50th birthday weekend on October 13th and 14th. The Brick family also bringing in Wim Hof for the Iceman weekend. That's October 13 and 14. Please learn more at jwb5k.com. Also, our morning newspaper brought to you by the Maryland Jockey Club and Laurel, where they are racing the DeFrancis Dash this weekend. The Maryland Million's happening in October. They moved it back a week because of Hurricane Florence last week. So get on down to Laurel and Bet on the ponies. Enjoy your time in the sports book down there. They have remodeled. It looks beautiful down at Laurel Park. We'll see you there on the weekend. Last but never least, any breaking news happens first on our WNST text service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5, driving you home with the SSV on WNST. I am Nestor. I am a very available individual. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. We stream live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.